It is hard to ignore some of the troubling reports seen daily that span all along the West Coast. How a place with 58,000 homeless people can continue to function. The investigation revealing trash littered across every block says the Golden State has the worst quality of life in the nation.
Cast out the devils, he heals the sick, and he raises the dead.
The greatest opportunities in human history are here upon us. That's the good news we've got tonight.
Psalm 89. O Yahweh, God of hosts, who is mighty as you are, O Yahweh, with your faithfulness all around you.
We're in the most critical time period in all of history. If the church rose up, we could change the country.
Hi everybody, it's Mike from Here the Watchmen, coming at you today from the beautiful mountains of Idaho, just for about another 48 hours, and the next shows that I'll be doing will be coming to you from the road, on the way to Alaska. But today we're here in the studio, and we've got with us one of my longtime warrior friends, a guy who, like me, has been through a lot, and especially in the last couple of years, he and his wife have been through a lot. Their house burned down in an undisclosed location in the mountains of Malibu, California. Of course, it's none other than Mr. L.A. Marzulli. L.A., thank you for joining us.
Hey, great to be here, Mike. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, LA is going to be with us, folks, out in Orange County, California, coming up here, October 10th through the 13th. It is Disclosure on the Coast, one of the last Hear the Watchmen conferences of its kind that you will ever see. Jeannie and I feel that we've been called upon by the Lord to take a little bit of a different direction with Hear the Watchmen going into 2020, and it means that we're going to have to step our game up. But if you love our conferences, you want to make this one because it's going to kind of be one of the last. You know, the thing about it, we know that there are a lot of conferences out there today for you guys to attend. LA is at a lot of them. He's crazy busy traveling all the time. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing. We're happy to see that. When we started, there were only maybe 2-3 conferences. Today, there's at least 2 or 3 a month across the country. But you know what? You have choices. If you want to go to a conference and be an attendee, go for it. Go to one of these other conferences, be an attendee. If you want to be a part of a family, if you want to be a part of the remnant body, come to Hear the Watchmen. It's a different experience. We're all about being a family. We are about the fellowship, not just the knowledge and learning and how to be prepared. You get all of it at our conference. So go to hearthewatchmen.com. Use the promotional code LA20 and you'll get $20 off your ticket price or 20% off the live streaming. So enough of the commercial. LA, what's going on in your world?
Well, we just came out with episode 3, Secrets of the Supernatural, Voices from the Other Side, and I think it's Fritz Zimmerman who's in all 3 films. When he saw the finished product, he said, LA, pastors all over the country should be watching this film, because what it does is it delves into the reality of the supernatural world. And, we didn't go there to make this film about that. It just kind of happened. And as some of these things, we were actually at Geller Hill, and we were filming on Geller Hill. Geller Hill is in Newark, Ohio. It's the highest landmark in the area. And what happens with Geller Hill, the Newark Great Circle Mound and the Newark Octagon Mound, it forms a perfect isosceles triangle. And that begs the question, how do you do that in the ancient world? Fritz believes, as I do, that Geller Hill was an ancient burial site for giants, i.e. the Nephilim. The title of Fritz's book is Fallen Angels in the Ohio Valley, the Nephillim Chronicles. And when I read that, years ago now, that was a game changer for me. It was a life changer for me, it really was. That combined with the elongated skulls in Peru set me on the quest, which I'm on now, on the trail of a Nephilim. So, I tip my hat to Fritz, and I tip my hat to Brian Forrester for, putting up that YouTube thing, that video where I first saw the elongated skulls in Paracas. But we were on Geller Hill. We were supposed to be filming there, but it was misty, it was raining. and we couldn't fly the drone. We couldn't use the cameras. So there was a forest like right next to the Geller Hill. So we go into the forest, and it's a manicured forest. There's this wonderful, nice groomed path. And Fritz had invited these guys, the Newark Paranormal Group. They actually contacted him and wanted to hang out with us. So I said, yeah, sure. I don't know who these guys are. Don't know what they really do. I've never really watched those paranormal shows on TV. I just don't do it. So they're with us, and we're at the head of the trail about to go into the forest. And this woman, her name is Galen Raylan, she has this little machine called an ovilus. I've never seen one, has no idea what it does. She turns on this thing, and at the head of a trail, and all of a sudden I hear evil. I go, whoa, what was that? And we film it, and then she starts to explain the ovilus. It has 5,000 words. If there are entities or ghosts or whatever, they're able to interface with this device and speak. Well, I'm kind of going like, wow, that's really kind of weird. I'm troubled, but I still don't really get it until we walk into the forest about 50 yards, 50 feet, whatever, and the thing spews out another word, witch. And at this point, I go, okay, I know what this is. This is modern day necromancy. This is like fooling around with a Ouija board. And I on camera, I go, I can't do this. I can't do this, and I'm going to take authority over it now, which I did. I prayed out loud on camera as the cameras are rolling, and I just said, we command you in Jesus' name. We cancel any assignment you have. You will no longer be able to access this box in the name of Jesus. I mean, that's what I said, something like that on film. So she turns the thing off, the ovilus off, this little device, and then she turns it back on in 30 seconds, about 30 seconds later, and we wait, right? And the word holy comes up, and her jaw drops. She goes like this. I mean, she can't believe what she's seeing, and all of it's captured on film. And I asked her, have you ever seen anything like this? Raylan had never seen anything like it. The guy who actually heads up the Newark Paranormal Group, he had never seen anything like it ever. It was a first. And they actually shooed me out of there. Go back to the car. We want to see what's going on here. They couldn't get anything to work. Before I prayed, all sorts of stuff was popping. The moment I prayed, everything shut down. And the reason why the film is so poignant is it shows the authority of the believer, what we have in the name of Jesus. We have the authority over the unseen realm, over the demons, over the unwanted thoughts that come and plague us or whatever. We have the authority over that. So with that in mind, the film rolled into this whole other film. We talk about in both films 1 and 2, Mysterious Mound Builders and Mathematical Mysteries of the Mound Builders. We talk about the Serpent Mound and how the Serpent Mound is dialed in with an 18.5-year lunar cycle. It's got precise solar alignments, and archaeologists say, oh, the Shawnee built it. The Shawnee chief, we have it in writing. We didn't build a Serpent Mound. So who do we believe? The archaeologists, which are pushing this narrative forward, and the Shawnee chief was going, you guys are crazy. We didn't build this. Knock it off already. Quit telling us we did something when we didn't do it. So the Mayan elders in 2011, remember the Mayan, the crystal skulls, the end of the world, the Mayan calendar, 2012. The Mayan elders came, Hunbat's men led it, and others from down in the Yucatan, or wherever Hunbat's man was living. He's deceased now. And they brought the 13 crystal skulls to the Serpent Mound. I've got a clip of that, and we show them chanting. They're opening up the gate is what they're doing. Why did Hunbat's men go to the Serpent Mound? He knew what was there. It's Kundalini serpent energy. I read his book. I actually emailed him several times before he passed away. So he knew exactly, the Mayan elders knew exactly where they were going, what they were trying to do. Who is the serpent? Well, it's the dragon. It's i.e. Satan. And so they can tap dance around that all they want to. That's who it is. And they're opening up a gate. That's what they were doing. And the whole place lit up, according to people who were there. Now, Russ Dizdar on film states that when he was at the Great Circle Mound, the Mayan elders also visited that area, the archaeologist or the guy, the historian who was there, said when they started doing their rituals, the whole place lit up. He couldn't believe it, never seen anything like it. The supernatural is real. And there's another man that comes on the record, and thanks Steve Quayle for this. It's an audio with Henry Gruver, who's talking about his trip to the Serpent Mound. And he wasn't told by the Lord to do that, but he went in anyway. And it's snowing, about 4 to 6 inches of snow on the ground. And so Henry just walks in. There's nobody there. It's night. It's still snowing. And he goes up on the head, and he begins to rebuke the powers of darkness and the blood rituals that have happened there and all that stuff. And as he's walking back, he's like hit in the solar plexus. I mean, physically, viscerally. Boom! He falls to the ground. His knees come up to his chest. He can't move. He's paralyzed. He can't move. And he's like there for like 20 or 30 minutes, and it's snowing. And at this point, he realizes, and he says it on tape, they're going to find me frozen out here. So he starts to pray to the Lord and go, Father, why is this happening? And the Lord speaks and said, Henry, I didn't call you to come here. You're weak right now. You went here on your own volition. I didn't tell you to come here. And I'm going to release you, but you will not come back here until you prayed and fasted. And I tell you what and how many days and all that to do that. So the Lord released him, and Henry learned a powerful lesson. All this is in the film, Secrets of a Supernatural, Voices from the Other Side. It's powerful. Every pastor should see it. Well, what does this have to do with us, LA? Dude, we're living around the mounds. From Ohio to the Gulf of Mexico, they're there. And guess what? Native Americans built the smaller ones. But these ones that we're talking about in the film, they had nothing to do with. And these are highly charged occult areas. And the church needs to understand that they're from Ohio to the Gulf of Mexico, for crying out loud. We need to take authority over these places as the Lord leads. So it's a real eye-opener. We're up to our eyeballs in it, and the church doesn't understand it.
That's exciting stuff, but it's not surprising, LA, that the church doesn't understand it and the church isn't doing anything about it. I mean, we see that all the time. I mean, in many of the places that we go with You're the Watchman, do you know that, let's just take an area that I thought we'd be very welcome in, which we have been, Grapevine, Texas. I contacted, I think, 100 churches and let them know that we were coming there, invited them, asked for help. One small church with a 25-person congregation contacted us back. That's it. That is the church today. That's what we face. So, LA, how do people get a hold of this new film? How do they find it?
You can't get it on Vimeo yet. You can get episode 1 on Vimeo. Episode 2 will come on probably in another couple of months. So you got to go to lamarzulli.net, lamarzulli.net. And folks, I mean, here's the deal. We create these films. We're the tip of the spear. Those are not my words. Those are many people who have written us. And it's uncomfortable here. I'll be 69 years old in December. Most people are retired. Hello. I'm excited by what the Lord's allowed us to do. Don't misunderstand me. And I'm excited by those of you who buy our products. And when you do that, you keep the lights on. You keep us doing what we're doing. Without your patronage, the well dries up, and it's okay. If that's the Lord's will, then we'll stop doing what we're doing and, close the doors. I mean, I get that. We're not there yet. I'm not crying poor here. But, this film should be shown in churches. It should be shown to your friends. I mean, people who have seen it. Steve Quayle said it's a must-see. And I know most of you know who he is. For Quayle to say that, for me, is a high honor, because he's been around the block a few times. So it's, it's all good. And lamarzulli.net, lamarzulli.net. I thank you ahead of time for your patronage.
So, Ella, let's shift gears here a little bit. I mean, you have been someone who's constantly been at the forefront of what's going on in the world, and you have researched extensively the whole alien phenomenon, what the truth is behind that. But what about the aliens that we see now in Washington, D.C. running our country? What about you take a look at Bernie Sanders, who said the other day that Christianity was offensive to Muslims and must be toned down. What do you say to something like that?
Well, Obama basically stated this when he was president. He said America is no longer a Christian nation. And Hillary Clinton stated that, most of Trump supporters, half of Trump supporters, can be put in what I call a basket full of deplorables, which I am raised both hands and gleefully sign on to that. And she said, you know, xenophobic, homophobic, Islamophobic. And let's walk through that. So as a Christian man, this country was founded on Christian principles. There's no way around that. It was founded on Judeo-Christian principles. And that's why, you know, just read the Constitution, the Declaration. The whole idea of separation of church and state is a 20th century concoction. There was never such a thing as separation of church and state. That's something that lawyers, like people in the ACLU, concocted to allegedly do this, and people fight back. We've taken God out of the schools. We've taken prayer out of graduation. And, you know, instead, Hollywood will tell us that we got to legislate these guns. And meanwhile, they make the most dastardly movies about killing, mayhem. There's one now with the Joker, which apparently is so horrific that many people can't watch it. There's another horror movie that came out. I don't know what the name of it is, but it was so horrific that people were like, you know, passing out in the theater or whatever. I mean, really? You're going to lecture me on whether I can have my Second Amendment rights while you guys are pumping out this trash? And let's not forget the video makers who pump when these kids sit there all day long. You know, all they do? They shoot people. That's all they do in the video games, for the most part. Now, there's some benign video games where, you know, you're just dropping bombs on objects. But, you know, pretty soon it's like human life has no meaning because it's like my virtual world. So we've taken God out of the schools. There are 65 million abortions in this country alone, 1.5 billion. We've taken God out of graduation, out of basically everything, and we wonder why there's absolute chaos. And now we've got some clown, some socialist clown, with all due respect to Mr. Sanders, you know, who wants to raise our taxes to the point where, you know, what's the point of working anymore? We might as well move to the old Soviet Union, comrade. So we're in dire straits here, and we need to push back. And it used to be the churches would push back from the pulpit. That's where it happened. And so when Hillary Clinton talked about the basket full of deplorables, going back on point here, and saying you're xenophobic, well, I am for a closed border. That doesn't mean I'm xenophobic because I want a closed border. Right. Mexico is an absolute free fall because of the drug cartels. You can't go there anymore. Right. So how's that working out, Bernie? It's not. And all these people keep coming across the border, not educated, no skills, go on welfare. What about the American people who need the support? What about Frisco and Los Angeles and New York City with the endemic homeless problem in Needle Parks and trash and human feces? How's that working out for all the liberal policies? It's not. What about Baltimore, which is basically the murder capital of the United States? How's that working out? When they've been given $1.5 billion on the Obama administration, where did all that money go? I mean, my gosh, you could have just taken the $1.5 billion and handed it out to the people. Where did it go? Why has nothing changed? It's not the guns, folks. It's not the guns. It's the fact that we've taken God out of everything, and the fact that the government is 100% corrupt. So the xenophobic thing doesn't work. Let's go on to homophobic. Do I want a guy dressed up as a princess reading from a book to my first grader? The answer to that is no. Drag Queen Story Hour. So it's to get this. This is how crazy our country is. That it's okay for the drag queen to come in and read to the kids, but God forbid we have a pastor that comes in and talk about the Ten Commandments. Oh my gosh, you can't have that. Oh, you'll poison the kid's mind. That's where we're at, right? So that's okay. We can have Drag Queen Story Hour, but there is pushback with that. Next, we have the Islamophobic. Here's the deal. If you're a Muslim and you believe in the Constitution over Sharia law, then that's fine. I'm all down with you. But if Sharia trumps the Constitution, like, has anyone sat down with, you know, Talib or Omar or any of these people and said, what is in your worldview? What do you hold to, Sharia or the Constitution? And if it's Sharia, they have no place in Congress. End of story. They have no place in Congress. No. So, you know, for Bernie to stand up and say that is an absolute, like Hillary Clinton, he's insulting I would say upwards of 70% of the people in the United States. Way to go, Bernie.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah, good luck now. I mean, but the thing is, LA, we look at this. I think there's, I read it, I believe in Drudge the other day. I think on the ticket for the next election in for various offices across the country, there's something like 48 or 52 declared Muslims running for these positions. So, it comes back to, I believe it was Nikita Khrushchev that said, we don't have to go to war with America. We can take over America without firing a single shot. I mean, this is what's going to happen. I mean, if, as Christians especially, we sit on our butts and we don't get out there and we don't get active and we don't try to make a difference. I mean, listen, if you want to get down to the hardcore facts of how absurd things are, LA, how about try this on? You cannot have a Bible in a school across America, but they're absolutely welcome in prison. I'm sorry. What if they were welcome in the schools? Then maybe you wouldn't need them in the prison.
It's
Yeah, it's upside down. So
yeah, I mean, it's exactly the deal. If the 10 Commandments are up on the wall, maybe that would change people's thinking just a little bit. What do you think?
I don't know. Who knows?
Anyway,
who are you and me? What do we know, right? So, but anyway, we know that God's got this. We really do. Well, LA, I know you've got a lot to do today. I do too. We got stuff to prepare for the conference again, Orange County, California, October 10th through the 13th. Be there. Don't miss it. LA will be there. Just go to hearthewatchmen.com. Use the code LA20. Save yourself some money. Help LA out a little bit when you do that as well. But get out there and be a part of all this. Be a part of the change, not the problem. LA, again, how do people find you? How do they find your work?
I appreciate it, Mike. LAMarzulli.net, LAMarzulli.net. Episode 3, Secrets of a Supernatural, Voices from the Other Side. I think it's a must-see, folks. It's a wake-up call.
All right. Well, God bless you for everything you're doing, LA. Looking forward to seeing you in Los Angeles, in Orange County, California. Well, listen, folks, that's going to wrap it up for this edition of the Watchman's Report. Tune in to us for our new show, Money Mondays. And we're going to deal with, here on the Watchman Report, the 2 sacred things that you are not allowed to talk about for some reason. 1 is money, 2 is relationships. So we're going to talk on Saturdays about relationships, and we might even talk about the S word in those shows. But we're also going to talk on Money Mondays about how to be a good steward of your money, how to take care of your family, and how to provide a better Christian life for those around you. So God bless each and every one of you. Until we see you next time, don't ever forget there's nothing that you can't do with Jesus in your heart, except nothing at all. God bless. See you next time here on the Watchman's Report.